Ethan Hunt and his IMF team must track down a dangerous weapon before it falls into the wrong hands. This is Mission Impossible 7, Dead Reckoning, Part 1. The review of it.
You've reached Hall in Mockery.
This is an unofficial Mission Impossible podcast. We have to say that because there is one that is official. That's fine.
No, that's great.
It's good for them.
It's good.
I'm really happy for them. So, Landon and I'm Joey.
Huh?
We are going to be reviewing the movie now. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. How do we get into this? I mean, have we done a Mission Impossible review before?
I don't think so, pal.
No, I don't think we did. When did Fallout come out?
Years ago.
6 years ago? That's got to be wrong.
Yeah, it's probably 3-4 years ago, maybe. And for my money, the best Mission Impossible movie. Mm-hmm. Maybe one of the best action movies.
Maybe one of the best movies.
Yeah. But we'll save our thoughts about this one for the end.
Yes.
And our definitive ranking.
It was 5 years ago.
Wow. So we meet up with Ethan Hunt after the events of Fallout, where they kind of say, okay, he doesn't care about his wife anymore. Mm-hmm. She's happier without him. He can, I guess, pursue a weird relationship with Ilsa, Rebecca Ferguson's character. But that's like never really defined for the audience or for them, it seems like. And we pick up with this movie. Well, first off, we pick up with this movie in a submarine.
Yeah.
And when this starts, I immediately go, uh-oh, boring. I've never met a submarine movie that I've enjoyed.
I've never met a submarine that I liked.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm immediately like, I'm holding my breath. I'm like, get me the hell out of here. This thing's too small. I'm like, how do they shower? Where does the water come from? I'm starting to think about sub things, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And we should mention we saw this on the only local IMAX that's not like 2 or 3 hours away.
Yes, we are not local yokels. We did see it on the local IMAX.
We decided kind of on a whim to go check it out on the IMAX, the biggest screen we could find. And it's only because of Barbenheimer.
Yeah.
It's only going to be in the IMAX screens for about a week.
Even though TC tried, he called everyone.
You will play my movie for longer than a week. You will.
We need to have it for at least 2 weeks.
Best I can do is a week and a half if you release it on a Wednesday.
For what he did for everyone, right? When he was on the phone with the producers every night.
Yeah. How are we going to make movies?
Yeah, and Gene Wilder's like, I don't know.
Please stop calling this number.
So we had to go because we said it's going to be out in a week.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because they have to put another movie where... And I thought, well, Oppenheimer, and I will see it on the IMAX, but it is going to be people's faces for 3 hours. Big faces.
Giant faces.
Turns out...
So it's Mission Impossible. Huge faces. The closest close-ups I ever did see.
The closest, they tilt the camera to fit their face even bigger on the screen. Because like if we tilt it,
we can see...
take up the diagonal.
Yeah.
We can see how watery their eyes are.
We don't even have to give them a haircut, as DPs often say when they cut a little of the top of your head off.
So yes, we're in the sub.
So we're in the sub, and it's huge on the screen. And we're saying,
interesting way to start the movie, right?
Yes. So we established that we need these 2 keys to turn on and off this entity. We'll come to know it as, and we established the computer, the radar is picking up that there's an enemy ship, and this is a submarine that can never be spotted. It's gone for like months now without being spotted by any enemy craft. But suddenly there's a blip on their radar, and it shoots a torpedo, but then it goes off, and they're like, "Oh, thank God!" But they shot a torpedo to counter, and that torpedo comes back and blows up their ship.
Yeah,
and it kills them all.
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting. You're like, God, what the heck happened? Because I thought it was going to be Ethan down there.
Yeah, I kept waiting for him to show up.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to be like driving the other sub.
Yeah, or just it was like a one-man submersible, and he was going to like.
I also, because of that, in the one of the best scenes in a movie ever from Fallout, where they trap the guy. There's a big. They fake it with Wolf Blitzer.
Right.
That entire scene.
Yeah.
Which is just crazy.
Yeah, it's fun.
I thought maybe it was something like that where there's some sort of testing going on and something's not working, or I don't know. I'm thinking of all these things.
Right. But no,
I'm kind of one of those guys that thinks about stuff.
Yeah.
I don't need to get into it here, but I'm always thinking. It's kind of weird. I'm kind of different. So
you thought it was going to be like a danger room.
Kind of. I thought maybe, or like in Monsters, Inc.
Beep, beep. Let's try it from the top.
Yeah. And then like a kid pops up in bed, but he's a robot. I thought it was going to be like that. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that would have been really stupid.
It's just funny that the sub is gone, and then they're like, must have been a... It's like, it looks like a submarine on the radar.
Yeah.
Is that just how you... Because it shows what a torpedo looks like. So it's not like just whenever you see something on the radar, it shows up as a sub.
And a torpedo looks a lot like a toy-pedo, which is a toy that I had for the pool when I was a kid.
Yeah, and you'd point and...
No, it doesn't work like that. It has to be under the water.
Oh.
And you throw it.
Well, I'm Babe Ruth.
So then we catch up with Ethan and the gang.
Well, blows it up.
Ship blows up. All the guys, and so
then the guys float.
The guys float to the top. And yes, we established this. There's some computer.
There's a ghost in the machine.
Yeah, some computer virus looking type of dealy bob that we'll find out is AI and is known as the Entity. And it can throw parties. It can take over your laptops.
It can make you be. Yeah, it can be you.
It can be you. It can sound like you, which is actually pretty interesting in a meta sense that AI is the villain of this movie.
Well, actually, our AI is not going to be doing stuff like that.
Yes, it is.
Zuckerberg.
Where do we meet Ethan and the gang?
He orders takeout.
Yes.
And
yes.
the little takeout man comes in and he goes, the raven shits at midnight. And he's like, the raven, the raven, the raven, the raven. And the kid goes, okay, here you go. And he's like, you need to say nevermore. You need to say the raven shits nevermore. And he goes, oh, right. And he goes, hey, and BTW, welcome to the IMF.
Yeah.
Sounds like someone you shouldn't have working for you.
Yeah.
Guy's an idiot. His one job is to deliver the stuff. And they said, ask him this and then ask him this. He forgot the second part.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because Ethan, well, it's the paradox of Ethan, right? Ethan Hunt.
That's my book.
Ethan Hunt is a perfectionist, and yet everyone around him constantly kind of screws up.
And he does too.
He does too, but it's usually because the equipment is faulty, or like it's not because he makes a mistake. Usually, it's more of like Benji messes up, or the equipment malfunctions, or he got the wrong intel. But this guy just messes up, and he's like, "Well, anyway, welcome to the thing where you have to be as perfect as possible, or the whole world explodes."
Yeah.
But Ethan. This movie, more than any of the others, posits a world in which Ethan is Superman and cares so much about every living soul on Earth equally, basically, that he will abandon everything if it means saving everyone.
What's the difference between saving one person and 1 million people? I don't think he can choose.
He can't.
He'd rather rip himself in half.
Like SpongeBob.
And at this point in the movie, the woman sitting next to Landon is opening, I don't know, just bags of like unpopped popcorn, plastic wrappers on magazines. Someone's phone goes off. I was taken so out of.
Yeah.
We get to see Ethan for the first time, and I hear like. I thought it was coming from the screen because the kid walks out because he goes, "Hey, welcome to the IMF," and it was like. I was like, "Oh, that's a weird choice." Someone's phone was going off. Someone's opening a cheese stick. I'm like, "Shut up!" Shut up.
The whole time she was opening various little candies and passing them to her little friend who was also opening them. I couldn't concentrate for half the movie. So I was just hearing.
And always the quiet moments.
Just open it.
Oh, the woman he loves is getting killed. Unwrap them before you come in.
Or just do it quickly. Because when you try to do it slow, you take more time, and it's not any...
When you try to be quiet, it's louder.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway.
So...
You try to do it quiet, it takes longer.
Just think about that. So we meet him. He gets the mission, right? He gets the mission, which is always a little much for me to take in the first go-around.
Yeah.
Because it's just pure exposition.
By design.
Yes.
But
it's a cool way to do it. And I like it.
Usually it's cooler, though.
But I'm like, we got the sub thing, and I'm trying to figure out, I'm like, but why did it turn on? Because
why is there this one?
The entity is in the sub, correct?
Yeah.
And so they were testing it. I'm a little confused. I'm guessing we're going to get some more, I don't know, information in part 2.
Well, that's what some of the big complaints about this movie are, like, why Gabriel is doing what he's doing, why and what is the entity. And to that, I understand the questions because I'm a little confused too, but also this, more than anything else, it's telling you it's part 1.
It's a lot of setup, and they've said as much.
Yeah.
I mean, the director said this movie is setup.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, why is it in the sub, but it's throwing parties somewhere else? But like the main component that you can, destroy or whatever is in this sub.
Right.
And how is it getting power at this point in a sub that exploded? I don't know. So it was a little I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt because it is part 1 that we'll find out in part 2. Part of it is scary for me because I know that they write these movies as they're going along.
Yeah.
And they decide at the last minute, like, actually, the way she looked at me, her character should actually be an arms dealer. And he's like, but that changes the rest of the movie. And he's like, McHugh, let's go. And then they, like in the middle of filming. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll give you that. But it's, yes, they get on. So then we get the rest of the setup, which is about the entity, essentially, that it's AI, that it can, I don't know, it can do a lot of stuff.
It can do a lot of stuff. It's become sentient. Do we get that in the exposition or in the mission?
Gosh, we really should have done this the day that we saw the movie.
Dang. Ah, well.
We get it at some point.
Yeah, okay. So, okay, he accepts the mission as he does. Then we go to Kittredge and the little group of U.S. government people. Right?
Yeah, you've got
Carrie Elways, who's not a good actor and never has been, but we just keep getting excited when he's in stuff because he was in The Princess Bride, I guess. So he's there.
Still don't know if he's British or not.
It doesn't matter. He's bad at acting. That makes me think he's not British.
Yeah, that's true.
Usually they are good.
He's got chapped lips. He's talking.
And I like, again, this is another case of I'm sure he's a good guy. And for some reason, I get excited when I see him.
Yeah.
But then he opens his mouth and I remember he's bad.
I like him too. I like him. It's like in Psych.
Yeah.
When he's bad.
Yeah.
And he's like, hello again. And it's like, you're kind of bad, but I still have fun.
When he's in Psych, it at least fits because it seems like, well, we don't need to get into Psych, but for that character, it works because the whole time you're questioning if he is just playing a part.
I agree with that, and at the same time, he's
still bad.
Carrie Elway is doing something.
Yeah.
But we get him in this. Kittredge is there. We're all like,
They do, yeah, they hold off on revealing Kittredge for a while.
yeah, because they have to bring in like the Crypt Keeper. And we say, okay, that's someone in a mask.
Yeah.
Look, I love these movies.
Of course.
I don't think I have a bad thing to say about any of them, as far as I can remember. It's just weird how much they stay on this guy, and like then he's behind someone as they're talking.
Yeah.
And it's like, are they gonna kill them? And I get why. It's just funny that it's like, okay, we know it's like, why don't you just have them be in the room, or they come in late or whatever, and that's the last we see of them until they pull out the little Star Wars face breathe thing, you know?
Right.
Because it's like, okay, then I'm just waiting for that, and I'm sitting through more exposition.
Right. I think there is probably 2 or 3 scenes too many of like reestablishing the thing, which we don't need because the plot essentially is from the very beginning we establish AI, sentient AI, all of the world governments want it. And that's what we're establishing in this little conversation. The U.S. government wants to control it. All of the governments want to control it. They have information about where one of the keys is. So there's 2 keys that we have to find to connect, to turn it off, or to control it. And Ethan wants to kill it. He's the only one with the foresight to say, well, this can't go well. For anyone. No one can control it.
Yeah, he's being SAG in this.
He's being SAG. But that, and then there's one sort of zealot, true believer in the AI, Gabriel, who also has some connection to Ethan from the past that we get little glimpses of, and I'm sure we'll discover more of that.
I was confused by that.
Yeah.
The way they did the flashbacks, I thought I completely forgot something from the first film.
Yeah.
Because they brought back Kittredge.
Right.
And so I'm like, okay, so they're bringing back some originals, some fan favorites, I guess. And, but now his blood vessel in his eye's about to burst if you talk to him anymore. And then they bring Gabriel, and they show these flashbacks in a way that's like, remember?
Right.
And it's like, no.
Right.
And I had to look. I looked it up afterwards because I was like, "Is he?" And I read an article. It was like, you might be confused because you think you know who he is.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I don't know who this woman is, and so they set up this like he killed someone that Ethan, but I have no connection to them.
Yeah.
And it just seemed like they needed something.
They needed They needed personal stakes for this because it is sort of like a weird nebulous idea of like the enemy is artificial intelligence. You can't fight anyone. You can't tackle onto the top of a train an AI. So we need someone to be the face of it, and it works better if it's someone from his past that. And then they also fold in this idea even at the beginning with the delivery guy that like the IMF is now, it kind of re-establishes the IMF as a place for like criminals to be rehabilitated who have like special skills to like put them to good use. So I assume we're going to get some backstory of Ethan was in prison. I think they even mentioned like he was released from prison and then the IMF found him. Or I'm assuming that Gabriel shoots this lady in the flashback, sets Ethan up, and he goes to prison and then is released, and the IMF snatches him up and makes him work for them. Or he takes the oath or whatever. All of this stuff felt like we're veering into the sort of John Wick where it's like the assassins have their own little creed and you take an oath and you become this, and it's like I like that it's a secret part of the government. I don't need backstory. I don't give a shit who Ethan Hunt is. I want him to drive his helicopter into a mountain and fight a guy with a mustache.
That he works there, like, in my head, because they set him up as, even in this one, he can't choose between one person and a million people.
Yeah.
So why is it, like, wouldn't this be his choice? Like, I've always thought this was his choice. He wanted to be a part of this or a part of the CIA. You know, somehow he got into...
Well, I think they wanted to establish a little bit of, like, after prison, he joined the IMF or whatever, as kind of a, like, oh, there's more to Ethan than we ever knew. But I'm sure in part 2 they'll be like, well, he was set up. Yeah. He wasn't in prison because he's a criminal. He actually was trying to do the right thing. And then the whole point with Haley Atwell, when we get to that, is like, Ethan basically describes it as, this is your second chance to make a choice to either help yourself or help the world. So that is in line with him, I feel like, where he at this point in his life in the past, he had the choice to be selfish or selfless, and he chose selfless because that's who he is. He's Superman. But then there's a scene later where, like, Ving Rhames and Simon Pegg are like, we decided to take the oath. And it's like, but I know Benji was just a computer guy. It's not like he worked for IMF, but so even like the Geek Squad of IMF, like, were hackers for Anonymous, and then they decided to take the oath and help the world. To
be good guys.
Yeah. I don't know. I think the less backstory on what the IMF is, the better.
With them, I have less issue, just because it's like, whenever you've got your hackers and stuff, there's always people that are like, but I'm doing it kind of in this anarchist sort of way, but then I've come to, like, help the government, but at the same time, the IMF, which has been true the whole time, is sort of like, we'll disavow you if anything happens. Like, you work for us, but you're basically, we're giving you permission to do things that are illegal, but they're still going to be illegal. Right. And so, like, that's cool.
And the other government officials in that room in the opening, they don't even know IMF exists.
Right. And he's like, the what?
Yeah.
Like, the Impossible Mission Force. Yeah. And I'm like, don't make fun of the name.
I know. It's cool.
It's cool. It's the IMF. And then, but, like, I like that they're a little scrappy gang of talented little freaks. Yeah. But Ethan, for me, is sort of like, isn't his pain enough that he can't be with his wife? Yeah. That he's watched all these people die. Mm-hmm. Why do we have to go? I don't know. There's confusion as I was watching about that and the backstory, and then, okay, the setup, but actually he's going to become the most talented IMF agent in the world when they pull him out of prison. That's all, like, just leave that. He has become this man.
We don't need it.
He's always been here.
And I don't need Gabriel to be, like, he doesn't need personal stakes.
No.
His personal stakes are, he literally cares so much about everyone on Earth that he will do whatever it takes to win.
I also have a problem about it later, but we'll get to it in the story.
Okay. So we all know that Ethan is the little guy with big eyes.
Yep.
And then he takes off his mask, and it is Ethan. We're like, yeah, we know. And like you said, they establish this little freak walking into the building late, and there's too much setup for it to be, like, fun and clever when he reveals himself. I mean, it's still fun because you're like, he's got a mask.
But he takes it off like it's the. But it's when he takes it off, there's more of a, like, da 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 than when we first see him in the movie, which is the scene before that.
I think,
like, that should have been the first time we see him.
Absolutely, and it probably was, but because for better or worse, this is how they make the movies. They probably were like, you know, in the editing bay, and we're like, we should establish at some point that you have to, like, take an oath to join the IMF or something. Because I think this movie, more than the others that McHugh and Tom have been really at the helm of, you can kind of feel the sort of pace of like, and then this happens, and then this happens. And it doesn't quite feel coherent, which is weird because it is a 2-part. Like you would hope that this is the most planned out, but that's just not how they do it, baby. And I'll give them the benefit of the doubt all day long and twice on Sunday.
I think they you can see it in the way that they're also editing the all of this exposition, which I agree with you. I think we understand enough about its AI and it can do these things, and it's going to become some sort of god to these people, and they want it to take over their life, whatever. But we get like in this first part, there's 3 scenes where we're getting set up. It's like, here's a bunch of stuff at the sub, here's a bunch of stuff with Ethan, here's a bunch of stuff in the room with the officials, and it's like, I know that they thought, and I think when they were putting the story together, it became this 2-parter because he's like, there's just so much to set up. But I'm like, I really don't think there is. No. I don't think we need these extended scenes of like hammering it home to the viewer.
Yeah.
What's going on, and then there's so much of it, like you could tell by the way they shot it that they knew like, okay, he's going to be talking for this long, so I'm going to shoot it here, and then we're going to shoot it down here canted, and then in the middle of him talking, it cuts to an angle on the other side, which is also a stylistic thing. They've talked in the past about McHugh has said, and I can call him that because we're friends. Each movie has a specific lyric. Yeah. Because they're all different directors. He said for, I believe, Fallout, he's like, I'm going to direct Fallout since I did Rogue. Rogue Nation. I want it to look different. Right. I want to keep that going. So I think when they went into these, he probably had the same idea, like what's the look of these two going to be.
And I think a lot of it is hearkening back to De Palma's first Mission Impossible, because the canted angles, the sort of building tension through how you cut and shoot dialogue, because the first movie is a lot of talking and stuff, and there's a lot of callbacks to Kittredge, the close-up hand magic and stuff, which is kind of done cleverly in the first movie and establishes Ethan as this sort of jack of all trades. So there's a lot of that stuff. So I think you're right where he's like, I think
I just my biggest issue with it is that I don't think this story is that intriguing to warrant all of the like setting up like this thing could take over the world. Like you're saying it, but it is so ethereal almost. Like it's just this theoretical thing that's happening, is that this computer can think for itself, and it just came out of nowhere, which is a lot of the movies because they're serialized, but it's like, okay.
That's my thing with it. Like basically all of the movies they have to stop someone from exploding the earth or something. Like there's a bomb they have to defuse, there's a torpedo they have to defuse, there's a rocket they have to stop. It's all the same. This is just like the newer version of that, which is cool. I like I said, the sort of meta commentary of like the last sort of action movie star destroying AI by doing real stunts and like being a Buster Keaton type, where he's like putting his life on the line to perform his art. Him being the one to destroy AI for good. I like that. I love it, actually. I think that's really smart and cool and a fun way to kind of interact with what's going on in the real world. But too many scenes describing it. We get it. And at the end of the day, it still is just them stopping a bomb. Or, it's the same concept of we need 2 keys to turn off the thing that is the enemy.
And
it's always that.
I just wish
So
the start would have been a little different, where it's not like the sub thing there, because there are interesting aspects to this, which are the idea that truth is going to become obsolete.
Right.
Truth will be made in the image of what the entity wants you to believe. And then they have this scene where they go to a bunch of people with like analog like typewriters. They're like, we're trying to save knowledge.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
there are these things that even seem like it would be in an Indiana Jones type thing, where there's just like this huge room of all these people like making sure they're saving history.
Yeah.
And there are things like that. I'm like, focus on that. And that, because I'm too confused about like, and it wants to blow up Russia. Like there are interesting ideas with that, which is like, like you're saying, it kind of goes into what people think we're dealing with now with it, which like you're not gonna know what's real or not. Those are scary things, and it's different than a bomb is gonna go off somewhere. Yeah, like the world is gonna change in a way that is going to, I don't know. You can focus on that stuff. Yeah, and I'm no McHugh. Yeah, I'm just
no. These are some good ideas. Well, it is interesting too. Of like, and maybe they'll get into some of the stuff, but like the IMF with their masks and stuff, their whole thing has been sort of the subterfuge, the espionage, the creating a reality that isn't true to get what they want, and so that their enemy is sort of a version of that they can't compete with. Is cool, but nothing is really done with that.
No,
so maybe it will be, but where we leave the movie, it seems like they're going to. I mean, obviously, there's going to be probably another 3-hour movie for part 2, but they kind of win, and then they need to find where the sub is, but they know what they're looking for, and. The thing I'm most upset with is that we're going to have to do an underwater thing, and which is just never as compelling as.
It is cool that he held his breath, but at the same time, it's not real. Like he held his breath and whatever, but all of the stuff going on is like CG. Yeah. In in Rogue Nation.
I mean, even as far back as Thunderball. Underwater stuff, everyone's slow. It's not visually that interesting. I
hope they spend more time.
Hopefully that's not the
like
finale.
In the Arctic above ground. Maybe that's where the movie starts, where they're trying to get to the sub. Yeah. I think they also go to South Africa to do some stuff. Because also like in I think it was Fast 8, where they're driving all the cars in the ice and stuff. Like someone already kind of did that. So I wonder what you can do out there.
I'm excited for whatever they do.
I'm excited too.
Underwater stuff is always like boring.
Like you were saying about the subterfuge and not submarine. No, thank you. Slow. But that could have been something interesting to do with Gabriel too, where he's not. Like you're saying, we don't need the personal history. It could be, who is this guy and why is he fighting for this entity? Like why is this computer his master? How did he get wrapped up in this? Why? And there's still that. Like, why did he become part of this? But he could just be a guy, and then they think they know his history, and he's like, or do you? You know? Yeah. Like his past is obfuscated by this thing, so they don't know who he is still. Yeah. Because I'll just say it. Later on, when he kills Rebecca Ferguson's character in the same way he killed another woman in Ethan's life, I'm like, it's too much. That should be the moment that's like he's done it. Because now we already have he killed another woman he loved. Right. And now there's another woman that has to die for this guy to be like, okay, now you've done it. Right. That should be enough. Like, why do we need this person that we don't know? Yeah. He killed someone else he cared about that none of the other characters know either. Right. Like, that should be the point where he's like, okay, this is serious
Yeah.
or whatever. I just don't, because then it is personal at that point.
Mm-hmm.
That's when Luther needs to be like, Ethan.
Well, and it is.
It is, but there's because he's like also tying in. He did it before, and
Right.
now there's this one. But
yeah,
it's like that should be it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, you can still have all the same beats, but you're saving, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes of screen time, and it
That's
just doesn't matter.
confusing me.
Yeah. But I think the other reason that it does have to be someone from Ethan's past is the entity is trying to kill Ethan because it has already crunched the numbers and knows that Ethan is the only one that can kill it.
Yeah.
Which is just funny.
It is funny. These like, one of you has to die, but we don't know which.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a Stephen King weird, like, the entity says one of you must die for this path to, like, it's taken all these.
Yeah. Like it, which is interesting too, of like, there's a predetermined thing that.
Why isn't it clear in the movie, though? I feel like they're focusing on the wrong parts.
Yeah.
Like, they're focusing so much on that Kittredge is back. And I'm like, what's his deal? Like, he's mad about everything.
Yeah.
And I don't know whose side he's on. And,
Yeah, because he seems like a bad guy.
But then he's not.
But then he's not.
I don't know. Which
he's kind of playing both sides because he has to.
Yeah, but I'm just like,
why? I don't care.
I don't care about that. Talk about how this machine knows every possible future and knows that Ethan Hunt is the only person that can destroy it.
That's what I just love. Everyone knows that he's a god. And basically, doesn't someone say that where he's like, I think the Fed with the younger Fed,
Yeah.
the little partners, doesn't he say like he's an all-knowing fighting machine who can kill and escape any situation? Basically, he's a god.
He can run faster, he can jump higher, he can live longer, he can give you a noogie before you even see it coming. He is not to be under he's gonna get you.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay.
It's just funny that.
Which is also why I think maybe that guy with the takeout food was like, I'm like, maybe he's famous to them.
He probably knows.
Like, he got to bring him the stuff, and
He's
so he
kinda
answers the
nervous.
first thing, and he's like, okay.
But he didn't act that nervous.
No.
He just acted more aloof.
No, I mean, when you are McHugh's kid and you want to be in the movie.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Where do we go from here?
So the main point of the movie, he's got to get them keys.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
2 keys that when you put them together, they blink. I don't know how.
Someone mentioned like dragon egg or something. I was like, what? Didn't they?
Yeah,
They said
I kind of remember that. It could have been the lady sitting next to you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. She was offering me.
She's like, dragon egg? She finally got it out of the pouch.
Yeah.
It was just one of those little eggs they used to put in oatmeal that would crack open. So
Rebecca Ferguson's Ilsa Faust has one of the keys.
yes,
She's in sandstorm land.
he's got to go to.
He's got to go find her before other people find her, according to Kittredge. Now, also according to Kittredge, later, he put the bounty on her head. This is where all these movies get a little stupid, where you're like, so what? What?
She's got the key. You need to go get it from her. But he put the bounty on her head. I don't remember why he said he did it.
I don't know.
Because he literally, he goes, yes, that's right. I put the bounty on her head.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so someone could have killed her and taken the key.
Right.
And made it impossible for Ethan to find out where it was.
Well, I think they would have given the key to him. Like, he hired.
Oh, so they knew.
So if Ethan failed, one of these guys still would have gotten the key back to Kittredge. But still, it's like.
Was his hope then that just Ethan wouldn't kill her?
He said, you're the only person she would trust to hand it over. Then just send him. Why why make
because
it
now she's hiding from people that are
she's
out
hiding.
to get her.
Ethan could get killed. She could get killed. And in fact, they pretend that she got killed for like
2 minutes,
7 minutes maybe, and then reveal that she in fact did not get killed, which
we knew.
yeah. All of the little twists were kind of predictable in a way that was disappointing.
It was disappointing after I'd watched Fallout 2 days before, and I said, "This is insane."
Yeah.
Even having seen it before, just like how many twists, but twists that aren't like this, where it's like, okay, come on.
Yeah.
They're just things that are like, that's awesome, and that's fun, and that makes sense.
Well, and usually they're a little more clever.
That's what I mean. It's
Yeah.
just like, and he's the one that gave them the intel that they think Ethan's a terrorist, but actually it's him.
Yeah.
And how did he get that? Because of her. But actually she's not on the CIA side.
Right.
And it's like,
Yeah.
this is like, so we know she's not dead. You didn't need to do that.
That's the thing. Like, just that's not a twist.
Because we saw
Yeah.
that she didn't. And then they cut back to that, and it's like, maybe it's Ethan's telling of the story, but not in a way that really matters, because then we all know she's alive.
Yeah, I don't know. So anyway, so the good guys get half the key, or one of the keys.
Yeah.
And then the other key is with the White Widow. Vanessa Kirby has the other one. Is that right? But we have to go to Rome. No, we're at. Oh no, we have to
They go to
the airport to sell the key.
Yeah.
This is where this is when I start to perk up.
Yeah.
Because it's one of these great little things where the team is together and they're like, so we're gonna go to the airport. We have to confirm that it's a real key because there are duplicates, and
So they need to meet up with the person that has the other key
Yeah.
that's trying to buy it, so that they can confirm. They're going to sell it to him.
yeah,
And then get it back.
Yeah.
So they're going to sell it to him so that they can put it together, confirm it's real, and then sell it back. Meanwhile,
I just love when Ethan's. This has happened a couple times. I can't remember. I think Ghost Protocol, where they're like, we just give. I think it's happened probably in all of them, where
Yeah.
they're like, we just have to give the actual thing. We have to give the bad guy the thing.
yeah,
And
so like,
the
well, how are we
team's
going
like,
to do that? And he's like, we give it to him.
yeah, we're gonna just sell the actual key to the guy, and he's like, yeah, we're going to, because they're gonna sell it to him and then follow him wherever he goes to get the actual key or some shit. I don't know, but when we get to the airport, Haley Atwell, we'll call her Grace, is there, and she's a little thief.
She's a nasty little thief. All the while, Briggs and Degas
Yes.
are on his tail. So they're trying to get him while he's getting away, and they are dealing with their own sort of AI of sorts, where they're mapping his face onto different people and sending
Yes.
them all over. We see Ethan run across.
Yeah.
That's where I'm laughing.
I'm laughing. I literally pointed as Ethan's running in the rafters and laughed and laughed. That's the clever filmmaking I come to these movies for.
Yeah.
You have so many plates spinning and you just can't wait. You know that they're going to crash at some point. But
That's when it gets fun, when it's not just him going after someone and then you see that first they're going after him, then she pickpockets this guy because she's also going after the key.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he's kind of on a clock because they're coming after him. Meanwhile,
Benji and Luther discover there's a nuclear bomb in the baggage area. So Benji takes off to, what do you call it?
the baggage claim?
What do you?
Oh,
when
he's
you
got to defuse.
fuse the bomb.
Yes. The opposite of lighting the fuse.
Yes.
He's got to defuse it. I kind of wanted them to do some fun stuff in baggage claim.
Yeah. Like a fight.
Like in Toy Story 2, when he's got to jump on and he's riding.
Yeah.
Because I want him to do some stunts.
It'd be fun.
But he just kind of finds the bag.
He immediately finds the bag and then unlocks the thing, and it's a little riddle. It has 8 little riddles or something. And this is fun and funny because they don't tell Ethan until it's kind of too late, but they ask him one of the riddles, and it's just funny. This is one of my favorite parts of the movie.
Sorry to bother you, but do you know what is always going forward and has no mouth or whatever?
Yeah. And he's like, what? It's just one of those comedy moments that this movie lacks.
That's what I want from these movies, is what is lacking, and then we get some of it here.
Yeah. This is one of my favorite sequences. And it doesn't have to be a stunt. It doesn't have to be a chase.
No, because when I think about the movies and I go, like, this one doesn't have a lot of that, it's like, that's not all the movies are.
No.
Because I talked to someone this weekend that I try not to be mad at, but they said, this guy said, yeah, they're kind of a stunt reel as much for him as much of a movie. And I'm like, but it's in the context of
buddy.
Are supposed to feel. The problem with action movies now is that you are not invested in the danger on screen
and the action,
because they're not doing it for real.
Right.
Like, that's why he's doing it. It's not just for him to show off.
No.
But that also is not the point of the movie. It's like, what are the steps that get them to these crazy, like, what he will do to save the world?
Yeah.
And these little parts are all part of spy. I like spies.
Yes.
I want someone to have to solve some sort of cryptic thing and have some little, you are done. It's my last name. Like, it's not, that's why it's fun.
And like in Ghost Protocol, you look at the Burj Khalifa scene. He's climbing the tallest building in the world. But what makes that scene work so well is that there is a whole other tense scenario of people. The masks don't print, so they have to hope that what's-her-nuts doesn't know who she's supposed to meet with. So there's that whole thing where they're meeting with someone who could kill them at any second because they're not supposed to meet and they can't bring weapons or whatever. So there's this whole other aspect going on, mixed with a guy literally climbing up the side of a building with a faulty glove, and he can only go so fast to get to the right floor. It's just it's all of these things together that make it work. Where in this one, some of that stuff didn't feel as tense and like as fun as some of the other ones. Which 7 movies. They're not all going to be the best movie ever made, which like 3 of them are. So, but I had a similar conversation with someone that I wanted to punch. No, but they said like, as an actor, I think it's actually bad for him to take the audience out of the movie because they will like lean over to whoever they're sitting with and be like, he's actually doing that. And I said, you imbecile.
Someone loving the movie.
I said, as an actor, the fact that he's authentically, he wants acting. Wouldn't you, just the whole thing.
And that's the spectacle of filmmaking. Don't you want the audience to be excited?
Sure.
And to say, who cares if you say he's really doing that? Great. Do you want me to rather just go
right
because it's all CGI?
Right.
Like,
well, and the authenticity of having the actual actor do it, like you were saying, you can feel the stakes. Even if what I always say is, and what I said to this person, if my grandpa went to see this movie who doesn't know he doesn't know anything about the making of these movies.
Yes.
So if he went to see this movie, he would still feel the tactile sort of stakes involved when you see Tom Cruise's face literally flapping in the wind when he's falling down from a mountain after you just drove a motorcycle off the side of a cliff. And he will feel the stakes of people really feeling like they're punching each other and stuff, like the scene in Fallout when they're destroying the bathroom. You feel it more than you do when it's a CGI double, or it has to be an extreme wide shot because it's all stunt doubles.
And skipping ahead a little bit, reading today about the train sequence, which has maybe some of the most CG of one of their, whatever, like main stunts or whatever, main action sequences. They were still hanging above the ground doing that.
Yeah.
And they said how Haley, when he says like, you need to jump, and they had it rigged to break under her.
Yeah.
And they're like, she shook her head no. She's like, that was real. I was telling him no.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't do it. Like, those are real emotions. Mm-hmm. You can tell someone can be a great actor and they can do the same thing.
Sure.
But to get someone to be scared and to be tired, like, they're exhausted from doing
yeah.
And you're seeing it on screen. You can just tell.
Mm-hmm.
That's the fun stuff.
I just like to be an actor and to say that the actor being in every scene of the movie takes you out of the movie. Yeah. It just seems antithetical to being an actor. But I don't know. Anyway, so the airport scene is awesome. I love it. Haley Atwell's character gets the key, takes it to Rome. Ethan has to go to Rome.
Well, and before that...
Yeah?
Am I falling asleep? We've got the great... And another stunt he does in this movie, right? Where he's...
Whoa!
He's got the... Right? He's got one piece. And then you're going to want to zoom in on this because he pulls the other piece out, right? And they did that for real, too.
Yeah.
And that was apparently one of the harder stunts. Did you listen to that podcast?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Because in the first one, he does the sleight of hand.
Right.
And I believe it was helped with computer. See, it's impossible to do what he's doing.
Oh, really?
He's got like did you see the scene? He's got like a floppy disk, and he's
yeah.
And he makes it disappear, but it's like the way that you would have to set that up to just show this guy. It's like, Oh. And then he goes and pulls it out of her pocket.
Right.
I think what they did was he's like, what can we do that's that, but real? Yeah. So.
You love him. You love him for doing it.
Because he likes it. He's like, he sees magic and he goes, I want to do that.
Well, and like he said on the Light the Fuse podcast, we were not going to do it.
Yeah.
We were not going to fake it. We're not going to have a computer.
They kept watching it. He's like, I can see the key.
Yeah.
I can see the key.
Yeah,
I can see the key.
Right. And he's getting madder and madder because he can't get it. I just love the commitment.
Yeah.
And why would, shut up. It's cool.
They could actually fake that. I don't want to. I don't want the Now You See Me Too where it's like, that's all fake.
It's just crazy because it's people that, and Tom Cruise is a problematic person in real life. And there was a time when I was a little edgier, when I would have gone on my big rant about how he's actually more human than all of us, and we actually should look up to him for the way that he believes and what he believes. But I'm not going to do that anymore. But you have to respect his commitment to his craft. You have to, especially if you're in the industry. And I think people are now, but there's still those people that don't. And I'm just like this guy who said this. You're in the industry, and you're saying he's not good.
The things that people are fighting for.
Yeah,
like fighting against. We don't want you to have our likenesses, so you can just make us CG.
Right.
You can just use our faces on fake people forever. Here's a guy,
but he should
risking his life.
I'm tired
to be
of hearing
in
about
those
it.
scenes.
I'm tired of hearing about it. Then go stick your head in the sand. I'm sick of you.
You know what it makes me want to do?
What?
Here. It makes me so fucking mad.
Whoa! You bent it. All right. Well, that's been part 1 of our Dead Reckoning part 1 review.
So
now we'll get through the last bit.
Let's
pretty
go
quick.
through part 2 starting now.
Okay. They go to Rome.
They go to Rome.
They go to Rome. He finds her. He walks in. He's her lawyer. She's like, lawyer? He's like, I'm a lawyer now. Mm-hmm. He gets her out. She double crosses him again. She goes out. Now, Palm Clementif or whatever her name is also after. She's kind of the right hand henchy for Gabriel.
Gabe's hench.
She's after them. Spade and Degas are after them.
Yeah.
Tom is after Haley. Mm-hmm. Haley gets in car. Mm-hmm. Tom takes off on motorcycle. You say, yes.
Here we go.
Did they not do a chase through Rome in Fallout?
I don't remember the cities they go to. It was...
Is Rome the same place where the huge roundabout is?
That's Paris.
Oh, okay.
I believe, because that's
Yeah, that's right. The Palm de
Frere.
How are you going to get into your house later?
It doesn't matter.
Okay. Well, didn't they go around a roundabout in this movie? And I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
there's
a thing with
European cities that all look the same.
European cities and
not like America.
Car chase scenes.
Oh,
where it's like they're fun. I don't want people to think I didn't like this movie.
Yeah,
but it just seems so weirdly paced.
Well,
because he's also like he runs on top of the airport for no reason, and I'm like, what's going on?
Well,
and then
because you have to show him run.
But most of the movies are like, McHugh's like, we start with, we want to start with a big set piece. It's like they want you to be part of the action. Then there's like these weird things, and then they're at the airport and they're chasing him. Then all of a sudden there's like, oh, and now there's a chase, and the car and the motorcycle. She takes the police car. He takes the police motorcycle. That's fun because they're things that they haven't driven before.
That's fun. No, I love this chase because that's fun. And then they get stopped. He handcuffs her to him. Mm-hmm. And then he realizes he handcuffed her to the wrong hand. So he can't drive. She has to drive.
I like this. I feel I can see them coming up with this.
Yeah, like, oh, God. She has to drive. He has to help her.
He has to drive one-handed. Because he's probably like, what's harder than driving? Driving one-handed.
Right.
So we do this. And then they switch places.
They drive and break the doors off. Mm-hmm. So it's also an added, like, just kind of cool, like, they're really driving with no doors.
Yeah.
It's just an added element of danger that you're like, I love this. I love these movies. And then they get stopped again, and he has an IMF vehicle that he has access to. I like that
they show, because he always has access to stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
And we don't get to see that, like, I'm finding us a vehicle. Like, I just love that shit where no matter where you go in the world, it's like, here's an untraceable credit card that you can get from a vending machine if you know the code. Or here's the car, and then you see all of the cool cars and the music swells.
It's just funny.
Meep, meep.
A little Fiat. And
we're having fun.
And he doesn't know how to use it because it's like a little dial.
It's a dial for some reason. And it's such a long scene of him trying to figure it out. That's great.
That's funny. And it's just funny. It's a little Fiat.
But it just felt like...
it's funny. They said, this isn't a cool car chase. This is a funny car chase now.
But it was like, in Fallout, it was kind of like that was the feeling of the whole movie.
Yeah.
Like, even when it's serious, it's like he pulls his little thing out of his helmet and he can't breathe. Like, serious things are still kind of like, oh, what's he going to do? That it's like, up to this point, there's been none of that. Then all of a sudden, it's a comedy. And I was like...
The airport scene is kind of funny.
It is, but it takes some time to get into it. He's got the little key thing, and
who did the fake bomb? Is that the entity?
The entity did it, but I don't know why. And it knew Benji was going to find it.
Yeah.
Because I guess it knows
It was
everything.
kind of- yeah, it knows.
But like, why did it send him to do that?
I don't know. Anyway.
So they're driving the Fiat around, which is cool to see this car chase. And like, well, what if it was kind of a funny car? Mm-hmm. And it's still cool. I still don't know how they do all these. I think it was in Fallout where they were filming it. Like they were actually like driving the car downstairs in town.
Yeah.
I don't know how they let them do that.
Yeah.
In like historic places. They're like, what if we destroyed the steps? So they're doing that here. It's spinning down the stairs. And then Palm's kind of got
she's got a big rig.
A big rig that's unstoppable.
Mm-hmm.
She loves it. She's like the Joker. It's chaos for chaos sake.
Yeah, she's just smashing into every single car she can. So that's kind of fun. How does this scene end?
No, I don't remember. They get away?
They get away, of course. Oh, I think she gets away from Tom again. And then Benji and Ving find him.
Well, they go down.
They had to split up.
Yeah, because somehow
From the airport.
when they crash, the handcuffs break.
Right.
Kind of weird.
Oh, that's right. They go down into the train, and he's about to get hit by a train, but he pulls the steering wheel off.
Oh, they don't break. That's right.
Yeah.
She had done that while he wasn't noticing.
Yeah.
He's about to get hit by a train. I'm always like, she's on his side kind of, but like she leaves him to die.
That's another complaint of the movie is there were one too many times where she double crosses him.
Like in a way that's not just like, sorry. Like sometimes that happens in the movies where it's a stumbling block for someone.
Like earlier when she got all those men to think he was groping her or whatever, and like.
Yeah, exactly. Like it just kind of dampens the time that he can get to her.
Yeah.
Or like you lock someone in a restaurant, something.
Yeah,
but
restaurant.
to like a restroom.
Oh, I thought you said a restaurant.
A restroom.
Yeah.
You lock someone in a restaurant, then the guy behind the counter is like, you want some spaghetti? So, but to leave him to get hit by a train.
Well, she throws the paperclip in.
But what if he didn't get it?
Well, he didn't. He didn't get the paperclip. He, by sheer force of will,
that's what. But like,
ripped the steering wheel.
What if he didn't do that?
I think.
I know that it's a movie.
Well, I think she and the movie both know that he's going to. But still, you would kind of be like, that's kind of fucked. My God. Joey's strong, like Tom.
That's how you get the steering wheel off. Like that.
Yeah.
Just sheer force of steel.
He pulls it off. The train goes by. Then he has to walk out into the street with the steering wheel. That's funny. Then Benji gets him. Then they go and I think reestablish what they're after again. Some more exposition. Rebecca Ferguson is there. Don't read that. You'll be mad. And then...
we're doing this instead.
And then, who cares what happens next? No, God, what happens next?
Now I'm flustered.
Yeah. They go to a party? Do they go to the party? Yeah, because Rebecca's still around. They go to the party. The White Widow, Vanessa Kirby, has the other key. They go to the party. Gabriel's there. He reveals that the party has been hosted by the entity itself.
And then the camera zooms in on the entity because everything has the UI of the entity.
Yeah.
It's like, we know it's the entity because it's little bubbles.
Yeah, little digital bubbles.
That's the little eye. It's the eye.
And even the lighting kind of throughout the movie is slowly like there was some point in the...
I didn't get this.
Oh.
Can you explain this scene to me?
What?
Why is the entity throwing a party?
I don't know. The entity knows all, sees all.
But why does it care? And then do the people do the people at the party know that it's AI? Like, do they know it's the entity throwing the party?
No, I don't think so. I think
so. Is it just because it looks cool?
Yeah. And I think it just wants the movie's just wanting you to know that the entity is even more powerful than you could imagine. It can throw a party in Rome.
It's these set pieces that I don't know. I got to see it again.
Yeah.
But it's stuff like that where I'm just like, I don't get why it's throwing a party, and then it's also like, but it's bad. Like when you find out that it's the entity throwing the party, it's like the way they show everything is like, oh no, like it's a frat guy.
Yeah, it's still just a party.
And then, but they need to get the key. But it's like, so they're throwing a party so they would all get together.
Here's what I like. I always like in these when Haley Atwell has the key. Mm-hmm. She puts it in the guy's pocket, and one of the bad guy's pocket.
I think she puts it in Adam Driver's pocket, right?
Yeah. And it's just fun to know for at least a while they have the thing that they are wanting. Mm-hmm. That's just fun. And it happens. I'm pretty sure that's in the first movie with the little floppy disk that you're talking about.
Well, yeah. So he makes it disappear. He does this, and he's got it right. And then he makes it. He rubs his hand, and then he's like, "See, it's not there." And he makes it disappear, and then he pulls it out, and then the guy's like, "That's not the floppy disk."
Yeah.
And he's like, "But remember downstairs?" And he kind of thinks about it, and then the guy gets mad, so he throws his copy away.
Yeah.
Because he realizes Tom has the right one. Mm-hmm. And then Tom goes to the wastebasket and pulls it out because the guy had the right one.
Yeah.
He just pretended he stole it from him.
Yeah. See, that's fun.
Cool.
So they kind of always do this, but it's always fun to me.
Do more of that.
Well, this whole movie is that.
No, do more of it.
Jesus. Okay, so so Gabriel reveals that either Rebecca or Haley have to die. Mm. One or the other. You can peek, or I'll peek for you. I don't know if he says that, but the entity deems that one of them has to die.
Yes.
And it's kind of like in religion when you're like, so there's like people who think that like the predestination route is like everything's already written in the big book upstairs or whatever. And they're like, so we don't have free will. So what's the point? That's what. And then there's another sect of people that believe the same thing, but they're like, well, you do have free will. It's just that God knows that eventually you will freely choose to go to heaven or hell by tithing enough.
Yeah.
By accepting or not accepting. And I think that's what this movie is saying about AI is like it knows eventually which routes need to happen for it to eventually get to the entity defeating Ethan Hunt.
Yeah.
But it's hard to wrap your head around while it's happening because it doesn't, like, just that concept alone is hard to grasp.
Well, it's kind of like when I went to church one time and we had the pastor talk that no one really, when he talked, you were kind of like,
yeah,
oh man,
yeah,
he's doing that today. The other guy must be on vacation.
Yeah. And
he started with saying, it doesn't matter what you do. It's already written that most people are going to go to hell.
Right.
He said, you could do everything, but it's already, you will probably go to hell.
Yeah.
That's what he told us. Mm-hmm. And then it was kind of a quiet church and everyone just kind of left and we said, that was a bummer. It's sort of that where it's like, that's kind of hard to wrap your head around.
Right.
Is it free will? That it's that thing. Like, what do you like?
Right.
Why? So that's what we're dealing with AI. It wants to become our God.
Yes. But I think what I'm speaking of mostly is just that, like, it seems in this moment, you're like, well, one of them has to die. Mm-hmm. What do you mean? Like, the entity is somehow enforcing this sort of action on the world? But no. To Gabriel, he's saying one of you has to die for the entity's plan to work.
Yeah, so it's not the entity saying it, like, make it so that, like, one of you must be sacrificed.
Right.
It's saying in my algorithm,
yes,
it shows me. And I don't know, I don't really remember why we don't know which one it is. Because the entity's like, Arr.
Well, I think maybe we...
But, like, in any reality where both of these women live, the entity will die. The entity gets defeated.
Mm-hmm. Well, but because as Luther points out later, with eyes so watery, you wouldn't know what to do before he. Well, okay. So as he points out, Ethan, the entity knows that because it killed Rebecca, you will want to kill Gabriel. You can't kill Gabriel because that's what it wants you to do. So because one of them died, it gives Ethan the impetus to get revenge. So if they both lived, he wouldn't want revenge and he wouldn't kill Gabriel. But because Gabriel killed one of them, Ethan does want revenge and will kill Gabriel. At least that's what the entity believes. Which is why at the end when he's, I'm not gonna kill you, but I want to. And you're like, maybe Tom Cruise isn't good at acting. No, I'm kidding. He's the best. But he doesn't kill. And that's against the entity's plan, I believe.
I think so.
That thwarts his plan.
I don't know how, because you would think in one of the entity's many futures, it would see a path in which, he kills. Let's say he doesn't kill Gabriel. Like that could be in a future.
Yeah.
And then he's still, even though he's killed one of those two women.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe it's just percentage wise. I don't. There's just a lot to think about. Of like.
Yeah, because also though, Gabriel knows exactly what time a little truck is going to be parked for him to jump off of the train. So you would think, if Luther is correct, you would think that Gabriel knows he has to sacrifice himself at the blade of Ethan. And he would be fine with that because he wants the entity to. Because wouldn't the entity
tell him, like, if that happens, you'll die at this point?
Yeah.
But why would he want to die for the entity?
I don't know.
Like, I want this thing to take over the world, but I'm not going to be here to see it. So why do you care?
And why does he want? Maybe that
is it giving him money?
We need to wait for part 2 because I think some of these questions will be answered.
That's why this is hard.
Yeah, it is hard. So maybe let's stop trying to figure out the
because
entity.
because the train speeds up, right?
Yeah,
and that's like he knows that because he knows when to jump off.
Right.
Ethan doesn't know that because he misses the train.
Yeah.
So he kills
Rebecca.
Yes.
And the entity has taken over Ethan's technology and is assumed the voice of Simon Pegg's character.
Turn right, turn left, mate.
So the entity sends Ethan the wrong way so that he can't stop Gabriel from killing one of these women. So Gabriel kills Ilsa Faust, which seems, I don't know, it just seems kind of weird. I don't know.
It seems weird because
I know someone's got to die, but it's like, why?
I didn't want it to be her.
I didn't want it to be her, but
I know it's not going to be Haley Atwell because they just brought her into the story.
Right.
It's weird that they told us it's going to happen. It's weird that they pretend she's... I never understand movies that pretend someone's dead early in the movie and say, oh, they died.
Yeah.
And then they go, just kidding, they didn't.
Yeah.
And then they die later. It's like, well, when you told us they died before, we kind of like, they're not.
Right.
And you kind of took that moment away. Even though we knew it was fake, it's like, okay, but then she does later. And then there's the whole thing of like, this female character has to die for the male character to have some sort of purpose. Even though she's her own perfectly capable spy that has thus far survived. Yeah. It's like, well, she's no Tom Cruise. So she's got to go. She's not important for him to have some sort of purpose. Yeah. And she dies in the same way this other person we don't know died. Because she has these little daggers that she can't seem to swipe him with. Yeah, and then he stabs her, and then when we see the flashback earlier, I believe they had been they got shot, I think. But it's still like he's above her and like shoots her, and in this he's like on top of her and stabs her. Yeah. And then
it's all a little forced.
It's like, okay, so that had to happen for, of course, in the story for the entity to win. But in the larger scale of things and writing this story, why? Because I don't think it adds. I understand, like, yes, it makes it personal for Ethan to have to not try and kill this guy. Right. But I feel like it's in his character to not do that and not and to still have the same I don't know, vitriol towards evil as usual. Yeah. Whether or not one of his friends dies, it's the fact, like he tells them, the mission cannot be more important than any of you. He already believes that. Yeah. So then it's not going to make him work harder. Right. He's already working smarter.
Well, we have 6 other movies that prove that he will do anything it takes to stop evil.
And I get it. And it's like, but why her? You know, like, you know who is tired? Luther.
Well, so Rebecca dies, and then they all kind of reconvene.
But then it's kind of like, he's kind of sad.
He's sad, but it's also the nature of being in this business. People are going to die. And I know he says, I don't accept that, but unfortunately you have to when it happens. So Benji's crying in a little separate room. We're like, did you guys even talk? Why are you so sad?
Well, he saw them take a boat earlier. He saw them. He's like, I thought he was going to have a new girlfriend.
And Luther explains to
Ethan, you can't kill him. And he's like, but I want to. He's like, Ethan.
And then he explains that he has a little bit of the entity on his hard drive. So he's like,
me too.
He's like, Ethan, I'm going to have to go sit in a different room now. And I can't talk to you until I'm going to be done for this movie.
Because I have this USB-C hard drive.
I have to go into a completely secure room, separate from everyone else, and sit at a computer for the next movie. So I'll be doing that. And Tom's like, Luther, I vow to you that you will never have to walk in another movie. I love Ving Rhames. He's great. Yeah. His hat is always slightly askew. It's not covering his ears. He's just wearing a little beanie that's barely on his head.
Yeah, he packs it for looks.
He's great.
Ethan. Even though we just found out computers are not safe anymore.
Well, he has to. That's why he's going to a completely secure room.
They always gave a little like, and actually this is off the grid internet because it's a little Chinese satellite. We got to hack a Cold War satellite. That's kind of fun though.
Yeah. And Luther tells Haley Atwell that we've all made the choice to join IMF, and this is kind of her moment where she realizes she needs to pick a side, kind of. She can't be playing one way or the other. And they hatch this plan to go on the train and get the other key from the White Widow. Haley's going to wear a mask as the White Widow. Tom will be Adam Driver. The mask machine fails again so that he can't be Adam Driver. So he's going to have to find a different way to get onto the train. She's she decides, okay, I'm going to do this. And then maybe at the end of it, I will talk to Kittredge and make the choice to join IMF or decline and try to figure my life out on my own.
Do you think they're happy that the mask technology exists in this universe? Or do you think it's a burden that they constantly have to find a way to have it not work? I
think both, because it is...
Because they use it.
They use it, and it's always a fun and easy way to be like, it's a good tool that you can easily use to get whatever you need to get.
But it's too good of a tool.
Yeah. And it's like that scene in 3 when Philip Seymour Hoffman is being Tom Cruise. Mm-hmm. It's just fun. You're like, God, how much fun is that? And in this, when Vanessa Kirby has to be Haley Atwell trying to be Vanessa Kirby, you're like, that's just got to be fun as an actor.
Yeah.
And it's fun to watch.
Because you get to see that actor act like someone else, not act like, oh, how would she act as this person?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's like in Fallout, they did a good job because he breaks it by hitting someone.
Yeah.
But in this one, it's sort of like, oh, it broke again.
Yeah.
It's like, why does this shit keep breaking?
Yeah.
None of your other stuff just breaks like this.
And in Ghost Protocol, it didn't work because they were using all like old stuff.
Get a new one.
Yeah. So
she says, okay, we'll do it, but the mask machine breaks, so you got to go alone. This is interesting. Oh. They get to the train. Mm-hmm. They get on the train. The White Widow is with her little Adam Driver, and she says, don't bother me before the meeting.
Right.
And I thought
she was already.
I thought this was Grace. Because they do a very cool thing when she goes into the room, mm-hmm. and she kind of has a anxiety attack.
Yeah. She's nervous.
And so you're like, okay, Grace is nervous. Mm-hmm. No! We finally got to see the White Widow without her putting on her airs of being this, the family business of the arms dealer.
Yeah.
She's nervous about this. She actually doesn't want him to bother her before this meeting.
Yeah.
So then when she opens the thing and you see the other one, you go, this is what I like about these movies. We've finally gotten to it 2.5 hours in.
So she knocks her out. She's wearing a different outfit. Mm-hmm. She comes out and he's like, oh, you changed.
And she goes, you never will.
Yeah.
And he goes, oh, okay.
She goes to meet the buyer. It's Kittredge.
Yep.
I don't still quite know how we're supposed to feel about this.
Hello, White Widow.
In the moment, you're like, oh. Mm-hmm. But then by the end, he's still a good guy, I guess.
Do they know that he's CIA?
I think so. Yeah, because the White Widow is like, he knows the White Widow. Mm. He's like, I remember when you were 9 and at the Christmas party or whatever.
But then when Briggs and Degas come in,
and
he's like, I'm not here. That sort of, I thought that was going to sort of shift them because they've been talking about Ethan and they're like, hey, maybe we're freaking wrong about this guy.
Right.
Haas. And then when they see him there, they're like, oh.
Ethan's right.
And they're going to try to help him.
Yeah.
Because they
kind of do.
They kind of do, but then they try to shoot him when he flies away.
Well.
Because he's like, Ethan, don't do it.
He's about to, but then he doesn't.
Yeah.
So
they're torn. It's
torn.
Cool. But they see him, because he's in there and he's like, I'm not here. And, if you have two nuts about yourself, you aren't here either, or whatever. Wink, wink.
Right.
You didn't see me.
So that's happening. Meanwhile,
broken the train beyond repair.
Yes.
So the choo-choo's going faster and faster.
Runaway train. Which makes Ethan not be able to get onto the train where he's supposed to because it has timed out perfect. Here's the thing. Why didn't he just wait? He knows where the train's going. Mm-hmm. It's point A to point B.
Like, why is he then having to take off on a motorcycle from somewhere else?
Yeah, like if you go there, 60 miles per hour in 5 minutes, you should meet it at this point and you can hop on. Otherwise, you're going to have to figure out a completely crazy way to get onto the train.
Why don't you wait here?
Right. Just wait there.
And then when you see the train coming,
just jump.
Get onto it.
But then we wouldn't have the fun stunt.
We want to have the fun stunt of, and I am very unsure about the geography of getting there, where he misses the train.
Yeah.
It like is the train going around the mountain? So
I
he
think
just has
so.
to go up.
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. It just seems like it would take a while. If the train's going that fast that he missed it on a motorcycle.
Yeah.
And
it
then
doesn't quite work out.
He gets to the top, enough time to then also sit there and think about it.
Yeah. And Benji says, just jump. And Tom says, jump. And we're kind of having fun.
We're having fun, but I like this movie. But he has done so much great. He jumped out of an airplane. Like, he does halo jumping. He does all this insane shit. And he's like, okay, just jump off a cliff with a parachute. Well, yeah. It's the easiest thing you could do.
And and it turns out, not that's just pretty much plain and simple.
Like,
just that.
It is a crazy thing for a person to do, but we've seen you do stuff.
Especially at the beginning of Rogue Nation when he gets onto the airplane and just hangs on
without
for dear
even
life.
thinking about the implications.
He just runs and does it. And in that, Benji is even like, oh my God. And he can't believe what he's seeing.
Yeah.
He's like, you can't do this. You can't do this. Oh my God, he's doing it. And then he does it. But in this, Benji suggests it, which I think is fine.
Yeah.
Like, he's seen him do crazy shit. So he's like,
that's
jump.
why I sent you up there.
Yeah. So Ethan should, and then Ethan goes into like, well, it doesn't just work like that. You can't just jump off the side of a cliff. There's rocks and stuff. You need enough hang time.
And then the IMAX camera slowly starts to pan around and you see
a ramp,
a CGI ramp of rocks behind him.
Yeah. And
then you start to smile and you say, I've seen this scene 15 times already. But I can't wait to see it again.
Yeah. And I'll watch it 1,000,000 times.
He does it. I love that. He jumps and they just show you in the vastness, the silence, and then it cuts to him and the wind.
Yeah. It's great. It is. When you've seen him do the other stuff that he's done, this does feel a little lackluster.
Because we've seen him jump out of airplanes and stuff.
And airplanes.
Airplanes. And I know they had to like plan it. But I'm also like, is it that? Like, don't you just go fast and when you jump, you let go of the motorcycle?
Yeah. I mean, it's cool. I'm
not saying it's easier that I would do it. I'm just saying like
the behind the scenes little 15-minute featurette that they released before the movie was more exciting than what's in the movie. Well, just because, we talked about this before for Indiana Jones when we were like, they put out the special features before the movie even comes out. I think this is the first time where it's actually made it anticlimactic in the movie.
Because there is no resolution of he just jumps off, he lets go of just like we've seen.
Right.
He because before it's like he's on the side of or on the side of an airplane or something, you're like, that's crazy. And then you watch the movie and you're like, that's crazy. And you're with it the whole time and you're like, this is, I don't care that he's got wire, like it's insane to do this.
And then for that, then he gets onto the plane and fights people, and there's like a whole action set piece on the plane.
This just cuts him falling.
Yeah.
And then we go back into the train.
Yeah, for like another 5 or 6 minutes or something.
Grace is about to die, right?
Yeah.
And then he somehow
goes
sort
through
of
a
cartoony,
window.
goes through a window and kicks them.
Yeah.
Like very. And yes, the movies are all like very much coincidence and like, what if this hadn't have happened? I get that. It just seems like, okay, and then he kicks the person. But we don't see a guy falling out of the sky and then like opening his parachute and like gliding towards a train that's moving.
Right. I would have liked to see a little more of that.
We just see him jump off a cliff and then that's kind of that.
Yeah. Which is fine. It's just And then the whole train sequence is fun and awesome. Like, once he's on the train and he's fighting people, and then the bridge explodes and the train is falling off, and then they have to do the Uncharted thing where they're climbing up each train car as it falls off. It's just cool. It's good stuff, and it keeps happening, and you're just laughing.
So tense. We laugh the entire time because then it keeps showing that the bridge is starting to collapse under it, and it's like it starts to get slower, but the fact that each train car is something different. Yeah.
It's
like
the
now
kitchen
they're in the
car
kitchen
with the deep fat fryer spilling oil all over the place. You're like, God.
Then
that's how you escalate.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. The piano. And then finding those little areas of what's tangible. Like the bar, the railing on the bar. I can get to that. Yeah. And
it's just awesome.
That's all cool. Then the piano that like breaks the whole back of the car, so you just see how far above the ground they are.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And it's so long. Like there is so much of it.
Yeah, it just
and you
keeps
can
going.
feel them getting exhausted. Mm-hmm. And they said in a thing I read today that was like Tom can only reach so far. And
he's like
Haley can
4'5".
only jump so. Yeah, I know. And I read that, I was like, he's not going to be happy about that. But then they're like, Haley can only jump so far. We have they are not superhumans.
Yeah.
And Tom wanted that to be very apparent.
Yeah.
They can't do anything more than they do.
Yeah. Of
but
course.
It's like it can't be he's going to jump in some insane. Like you have to feel that he's barely making it. And you do.
Yeah, at the end when he's about to drop her and she like grabs onto his head. Because that's the last thing she can do is just hold onto his neck.
It looks like it did hurt him.
Yeah. But then Palm grabs him and helps him. And she was right. Gabriel said that she was going to betray Gabriel and help Ethan. And in fact, that is what happened. But he stabbed her and killed her like 20 minutes ago.
Yep.
And she had enough strength to climb down into a falling train to help Ethan.
Lift two people up. And then she looked into a mirror and said, Judas, because she betrayed.
Yeah.
And she couldn't believe it. It was true.
Yeah.
Which is cool, I guess.
I like that part. It strained credulity in that we've seen everything that you just said of like these feats of real human strength with adrenaline, and they are super spies and like they are strong people.
They're
but
fit as hell, yeah.
But it is like realistic in that they can't hold on forever and all this stuff. And then you have she's also strong and very capable, but she's a small woman who has been stabbed and probably lost a lot of blood.
Yeah.
And she would have to have climbed down into the car or have already been behind that bar.
It's one of those Fast and Furious things where it's like somehow they know what's happening.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you just assume they're dead?
Right.
Why would you be like, I should go see because he didn't kill me earlier, so I owe him one?
Right.
Like,
yeah, I don't know. But it's fine. I mean, I like that everyone eventually comes around to seeing that Ethan is right.
But it also, and it shows us at the end of the movie that so far, even though he had the chance to kill Gabriel and didn't, that still has not thwarted what the entity thinks is going to happen.
Yes.
Because she goes, he's right. I did betray him, like it said. So it's still new up to this point. Everything's going according to plan.
Yep.
Gabriel's not dead, but that doesn't mean he's not going to have another chance. So far, it seems like you're not going to kill him. You didn't kill him, but that doesn't matter so far.
Right.
Because the plan's going as it should for the entity. What does that mean for the larger world? I don't know.
It's all bollocks to me. No, so we end the movie. The good guys have the keys. Ethan does his second parachute off of the train.
Yes, there's only one. Oh no, he goes.
Palm dies.
Palm dies, and he says, "There's only one pair. No, it only carries one.
Yeah.
Because I have to use little handles." And she goes, "Okay, that's fine."
So yeah, he leaves her with Kittredge, who I at this point thought is a bad guy, but
yeah,
apparently not.
Yeah, because then she goes, "He told me
I can trust you."
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, really?" And I'm like, I still don't know. What's your fucking deal?
So maybe we'll find out that he can't. But for now, she takes the oath of the IMF. She chooses to accept the mission, and
I know this is not the fault of the movie. This is just them doing their little behind the scenes things before the movie comes out. This was another stunt that was set up as like, there's going to be this high octane, like, and I've seen the videos of the guys with their GoPros on their head where they're skimming past mountains and rocks, 2 inches from their body and stuff. And they're like, Tom is, riding this like parachute down, and he's got to control it. And he's like, you see him flipping around and stuff. And then in the movie, he's just kind of like, it is that, but it's not, there's no urgency or danger to it.
Yeah, he's just kind of gliding.
He just needed to get down
to a car where Benji's waiting for him.
And the special features, like, he needs to land going like 50 miles an hour and run. And I'm like, kind of look like anyone landing a parachute.
Yeah. Well, see, what I thought was going to happen, because I've seen that little featurette, when he bashes through the window of the train, and I was initially disappointed because I was like, so wait, that was it? That's all the parachuting we get to see? I know there's a featurette where he does flips, but then they make a point to show his parachute is still out, hanging out the window. Yeah. And I was like, he's gonna,
I thought he was gonna
get pulled back out and have to do that to catch up with the train or whatever, or like catch right at the very.
Like he helped and then gets sucked back out.
Yes,
I thought the same exact thing.
And then he'd have to the very end of the train and then fight his way through the train up to the front of the train to save her again. But no, he gets pulled to the side and then lets his parachute go, and then he's just on the train. But God, I was so excited when I saw the parachute still out the window. I was like, yes, that's how they're gonna do it.
I just like when you're watching the special or when you're watching the dailies or something. Don't you think of that too? Aren't they like, we should have done like...
It seemed like maybe that was, and they cut it.
I don't know if this is what they're talking about, but did you see Edgar Wright's post on Instagram about the movie? He said, he posted about the movie, Edgar Wright, director. He said, had the distinct privilege of seeing this come together and cannot recommend enough the pure pleasure blah, 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 seeing this. If you're wondering why I'm thanked at the end of the movie, along with my brother Oscar and Joe Cornish, it's because we watched early cuts and gave some hopefully constructive notes, like less Simon Pegg here or more Simon Pegg here. A little joke.
Funny.
But McHugh commented on it. He said, Edgar is being humble here. At the last Friends and Family screening, he gave an infuriating, obvious note that changed the game in ways great and small. I'll talk about it in detail in part 2 of the Empire Spoiler Podcast.
Oh, my God.
If that makes sense. Thank you kindly, Edgar. And so, because he said, I'll talk about it on part 2 of the Empire Spoiler Podcast for part 1, if that makes sense. And I said, no. But I'm like, I wonder what that note was. Yeah. And I wonder what notes they were getting up to that point where something else was screwed up. And he was like, "Hey, you guys, Tom Cruise died at the end of this one. There's got to be a part 2.
He's like,
oh, man, we really should have thought about that.
And then Tom Cruise is like, that is such a good note that you gave us, but I'm busy saying Barbenheimer. I can't wait to see what that note was. But it just seemed like something like that where it's like, oh, but there's room for this more suspense or something, more action here.
Yeah.
And it's not the fault of the movie, but when you've set up your movies this way and every promo you put out before the movie is like, Tom's crazier than ever.
Yeah.
There is an expectation from the crowd, unlike your friend saying it takes you out of it.
Yeah.
That is
It
part of the
puts me in
spectacle
it.
when you're doing that. That it's not just the spy movie. You're seeing him do these things,
Mm-hmm.
which are dangerous, yes.
Yeah.
But to set it up that way and then go, okay, well, we kind of got it. And then the big thing is the train, which they are doing, but at the same time, a lot of that is constructed on a set.
Yeah.
And it's not the tactile, like we made Henry Cavill jump out of a plane 5 times a day for 100 days.
Yeah.
And like get knocked around in the air, and we didn't know if that was going to be safe or not.
Yeah.
It's weird. It just seemed a little oddly timed for everything. But I give it the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. It is.
We've been told this is the setup.
Right.
They tell you going in. I think there's a reason why they did that, other than just letting you know that it's a 2-parter and it's a big story. It is to say this is the setup movie, and you need this to understand what's going on in the second one.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
I guess. But it is like, what are they going to do in the next one? Because they have to ramp it up.
Yeah. What do you think?
What do you do?
Well, we know they're going to be in the Arctic. So
I've seen the Arctic. I've seen South Africa. I don't know what either of those mean.
they're going to have to do some underwater diving thing.
Yeah.
Do you think the next one picks up right where this left off in a way of, because they have the keys, there can't be like a time jump,
Right.
really, unless
Or there can, and something has gone wrong.
yeah.
But I think the reason they're going to they're gonna go there because that's where the sub is.
Yeah, they have to do
I'm
that.
hoping that's the opening.
I hope so
And
too.
It's not gonna go as planned.
Yeah.
Because the whole thing is set around the objective is to get the key in here and turn it off. Mm-hmm. I'm hoping that doesn't work. I mean, it kind of is
I'm
dumb
allergic.
when then you rewatch these and you go, okay, well, the whole first movie doesn't matter because it didn't work or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
But there's got to be something that goes on where they know where the sub is because they know where the bodies were.
Right.
They just know that the keys disappeared.
Well,
And we don't exactly know why or who took them.
remember that Carrie Elways is the only one who knows where it is,
Right.
and he is killed. But Palm tells Tom the name of the sub, so he at least knows what to look for
Yeah.
in that regard. But he might not know exactly where it is. But so maybe I just hope that's not the final set piece.
Yeah. She's like, Encyclopedia Brown. He's like, what? What, a sub?
Yeah, I hope that we start there rather than the movie is trying to figure out where it is, and there's fun and games throughout that, and then we, the government and Gabriel and the IMF crew all meet underwater, as that's just would not be good to me.
I hope it opens with that, but maybe the key works, but it leads them to something else.
Yeah.
Like it's only part of the puzzle of actually the entity wanted that to happen because it knew that it would throw them off or, whatever.
Yeah.
There's something, because the problem is with these movies and people like us that listen to all this stuff, they're pretty open about telling us like where they're going and stuff. So I don't want them to say, and then we went right to the Arctic to film part 2. And then the end of that movie that I waited a year to see is there. That's the big reveal. Is like, and it's not a very photogenic, like if you want to have an action movie, like also those waters would be a cold.
Oh, so cold. Well, that's what I mean. Underwater stuff is nothing to look at.
That was the problem with Indiana Jones.
Right.
With the underwater scene where it's like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, that's any underwater scene I've ever seen in a movie, except Rogue Nation is it Rogue Nation where he was holding his breath? Like that's tense, but it's still like you said. Well, I know it's not really real.
It's not like he's in that. We know he's filming underwater, and
Yeah.
you're kind of watching it all as one apart, but it's like, well, he can also go up and get air.
Well, and but with that one too, it plays to the strengths and weaknesses of being underwater, where he is moving slow, but the machine is moving fast, and he has to, like, he drops the little hard drive or whatever.
Yeah, that's still tense. But then what can you do in this one?
That's what I mean.
It's not, he has to hold his breath again.
Right. I don't know. So hopefully, I'm sure, I trust that they've figured out some really cool things to do. And didn't I read somewhere that Tom and or McHugh are already working on the biggest and best stunt they've ever done for the 10th? Because I thought this was, or the 9th.
The 9th.
I thought these were done after part 2.
Yeah.
But then I read something where it was like, I think it was Tom who said, like, I'm already working on the biggest stunt I've ever done for the next one. Something like that. So, hey, if he's doing them, I'm going into the theater and I'm going to watch him. I don't care how long he does it. He can do it forever.
The 2-part story was originally reported to be the end of Ethan Hunt's run, but there's really no stopping Tom Cruise, and he and director Chris McQuarrie have suggested there may be more on the horizon for Ethan and the IMF crew.
See?
So I don't know what else they could do.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out, and I'll be there regardless. What do you rate this movie out of 10?
He also said that he wants to still be doing them when he's 80.
Yeah.
He said, I have 2 decades to catch up to Harry. And I was like, yeah, I want to see that.
I'll be there. I don't
I
give
want
a
to see
shit.
the stunts get worse and worse.
For this, I climb the stairs.
I give this one, man, I liked it. It's not my favorite.
Yeah.
I still think we both agree that Fallout is
the best of these. It's the best action movie, probably.
I give this one a 6 is too low. I give it a 7. A
Yeah.
tentative 7 when I see how it plays out in the second part.
I'm excited to rewatch it. I think I'll probably appreciate it more on rewatch, because it is one of those where the anticipation is affecting you some way. And, you just can't. You're going in thinking Fallout.
Expectations are high.
Yeah.
And I hear a lot of this is the best one yet. And then as we're about 30 minutes in and it's just close-ups of people talking about AI, you're just like, uh-oh.
Yeah. I think we could have shaved off 20 minutes at least, probably, and been the better for it.
Why do you think that is, that they feel like it needs to be 3 hours? I mean, I know that there's enough going on that it warrants a 2-parter.
Yeah.
But why not say it's a 2-parter? This one's
2 hours.
2 hours, 2:15.
Yeah.
2.5.
I don't know. I think,
and like get us to the stuff, because do they just worry that we're not going to be able to understand sort of the magnitude of the entity?
I think so. And frankly,
maybe it's just the way that they decided to tell that information wasn't compelling enough.
I think they underestimated the audience's ability to grasp it, and also overestimated the impact that it would have. It's like, you can tell me 1,000,000 times how important it is. I don't care. Because it's just say it's a bomb. That makes more, that's something we know. That a nuclear warhead, I can understand.
That's what I'm saying, is if they distilled all that information to, like, I guess the idea is that it could change truth, but like it doesn't, but it's like, but what does that mean?
Yeah.
Like, tell me what that means to you.
Right. Me?
Yes.
No,
but it's why?
That's what I'm hoping the next one kind of illustrates that aspect. So we see almost we see the effects of it while they're trying to figure out where it is. Like maybe that's the first 15 minutes or so of like news stories that don't make sense, or like people starting to get restless, rioting and stuff like that. Like just show the impact of what this means for the
I wish they
Earth.
would have done that for part 1.
Well, yeah, I know.
Where we're seeing that now, and it's like, because they're saying this is happening, but
and
it's like
they held off most of Gabriel's relationship. Like there's so much, it seems like, that they left for part 2 to reveal, where it didn't give us much of anything to really contend with. So for that, I give it a 7.
Oh, and how do you feel about Gabriel as a character?
I don't care.
Okay.
Why?
That's kind of how I feel, which is weird, right? Because, like, even with the last guy, little Squeaky, he's a cool villain.
He's cool because
And I like when he's driving the car in Fallout. Let's talk about Fallout. And he's driving all around with the guy in the straitjacket, and he's just like...
Yeah, he's unnerving. This guy is, like, too handsome.
Yeah.
You're like, you could be an IMF agent.
And I was just so confused.
He probably is.
I just thought he was in another movie, and I forgot. The way they set it up is too weird.
Yeah.
So we give it a 7. And until next June,
well,
keep your eyes on the keys.
I wanted to do a ranking of the movies first. What do you rank them?
Fallout. Rogue. Fallout. Ghost Protocol. Rogue Nation. Oh, interesting. Wait, I forgot about this one. I don't know where I put this one. For me, it's Fallout, Ghost Protocol, Rogue Nation, 3, 1, 2.
Where's this?
I don't know. I think it falls below Ghost Protocol for me. Actually, it might fall under 3 is cool.
I love 3.
It might be under 3. It might be 3. It might be this one and then
1, 2.
But one's
feels
good too.
Feels too low, doesn't it? But
Yeah.
also it feels too high.
But they're all. That's the problem. They're all good.
They're all good. To me, 6, 4,
Yeah.
3 and 5 are kind of tied for me because I do love 3.
Yeah.
But I go.
They're just different.
They're different. Yeah.
They're like different movies now.
Yeah, that's the thing. But 3 really is just a great action movie. And you want to talk about stakes?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
that scene,
the
where he's tied up.
Yeah, and he's crying. Don't.
I watched a video about it was a guy that used to work for a organization in the CAA like this, and he was reviewing scenes from the movies and saying, this is what we wouldn't do. He's like, our masks don't look like that. I'm like, you have masks? And he's just like...
Was this Sacha Baron Cohen?
His head's 8 times the size of a real
Our
human.
heads do not look like that. Our mask do not look like that.
Our nose is huge. That's when my eyes go in the mask. It's a
Anyway,
crazy
go
mask.
on.
There were some other things he's talking about where he's like, yeah, that's how we would do that. And I'm just like, it was just like stuff that I thought was made up. And he goes, yeah, that's how we do that. But they're talking about that scene from 3 where he's threatening, to shoot her, and he's like pleading, please don't do this. He's like, we would never do that. He's like, he's not in control of the situation now, and you need to be in control. He's like, what we've been told to do is keep saying information about ourselves, like saying our social security number and our name and our birthday, like to throw them off. But I was like, and so he's like, so this scene's not very realistic. I'm like, the guy's pleading. Well, like, please don't do this. It was just funny that
I think that's the point, though. He loses his training.
I was just like, I don't care how realistic it is. That's what I mean. Like,
I would say that's the point.
That's what I mean. Is like
he thinks the person he loves more than anything is about to die.
The point of the scene is showing that he is completely helpless, and he thinks he's lost all hope.
Right. It's to open the movie with that, and then you meet back up with it. And that's a scene where you're like, tell me this guy's not a great actor. Just actor. Don't. You're like, God, don't, please. Look at him. So 3 is great. Then this one, then 1, 2.
Do you like this one more than 1?
I
haven't
think
seen
so.
1 for a while.
Me neither, but I mean, 1 is great, but it's like you said, it's a different thing. This scratches more itches for me than just a strictly kind of spy craft, which I love. But and then 2, obviously, we can all joke about how like, well, the action scenes are cool. They are, but there is like 2 of them, and they're at the end of the movie, and the rest of the movie kind of sucks.
It's sort of about how he's hot and how everyone's hot.
Yeah.
It was a weird time. It's like the horny time for movies. But it's still cool. He's rock climbing. I remember this one from when I was younger a lot.
Yeah, the rock climbing is insane.
I remember that. I remember the look of it. Everything's like red.
Yeah. It's cool. Don't get me wrong. I like it too. But I think there has been a sort of overcorrection of like how good it is.
Yeah, it's certainly, when I went back and rewatched them for one of the previous ones, it's certainly one that if you weren't like, oh, there's better things on the horizon, I don't know if I'd be watching them.
Yeah. Well, that's what another person I talked to recently was like, I saw the first 2 and I just stopped. And I was like, pick it back up. I promise. If you like action and comedy and just fun.
To stop right before that, Mission Impossible 3 is J.J. Abrams' best movie.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what I told everyone who was on this
Hear ye.
on this call, yes, I hijacked a work call to just talk about Mission Impossible. But I said, just start with Ghost Protocol. Because a lot of people were like, I haven't seen any of them. I said, just do Ghost Protocol. I think that's
actually when we were getting ready for this one, me and the woman with whom I live, who didn't go see the new one, she's like, I do need to see it, but it was boys' night.
Yeah.
When she's like, well, we need to watch the other ones first, and I said, I'm okay. Unlike Indiana Jones, where it was sort of like from the top. There's a lot of Mission Impossibles, and I said, let's start at 4 because that's when they become what they are now. Yeah.
And I think in a lot of ways, like Fallout is a perfect movie. So is Ghost Protocol. And I think there's just something for everyone in Ghost Protocol in a way that like Fallout does feel more of like action forward, where Ghost Protocol, the fun of it, like this scene where they're sneaking down the hallway and the camera with the camera gag and like
it creates the screen.
Yeah. And when Jeremy Renner is like in the little thing and he's floating on the fan and whatever. There's just so many fun things.
It's like a dream spy movie.
Yeah. It's got something for everyone. I love it.
Yeah.
And he's got a shiny suit.
All right. So that's our review. If you agreed with us, if you listened to the whole thing, comment with a middle finger. And if you agree with our rating, comment with a middle finger. And if you don't agree with our rating, comment with a middle finger. Bye.
Bye.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal, providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.